Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So today I want to talk about curiosity. We've had a good talk about this, haven't we? And curiosity is not what killed the cat. Curiosity is actually what helps you to think around corners and think beyond what you see, because what we see can be very daunting at the moment. And what we see can actually, a lot of people can be feeling very, very anxious about how's the world going to be? What's the economy going to be? Am I going to have my job? And we think that what we see is what we get, but the people who will get us through this and the people who will flourish in this environment are the people who are highly curious about life. So, Leigh, I know that you've had a bit of a background and a bit of a story where things haven't always gone well for you. So let's talk about the baby steps and take us through step by step how you got through that.
Well, maybe I should tell you a little about the crisis that I went through. There was a massive mental health crisis. It was, I don't know how many years ago now, in my 50s, probably started about 7 years ago. And as a result, I'm looking back, it was a result of business burnout, a lot of grief at the loss of a prem grandchild and my best friend, and I just absolutely crashed into a deep, dark, lonely hole. And I was down there about 2 years, down there, even the language, isn't it? But I knew even while I was in there, when it was really despairing, that if I just kept being optimistic, and that's curiosity, I think. So I could just feel absolutely terrible, but I just kept being curious. So I would look for a bit of information. I would think about what is the smallest thing that I could do that day to make myself feel better, or feel positive, or feel worthy, or and it might be just smiling at someone on a bus. So, yeah, those are those baby steps. I'm always thinking each day, what's the one little thing I can do today that will help me in this terribly dark time? And what's the one thing that's going to get me out of this terribly dark time? And some days it just felt like it was never ending. I really lived a day at a time, a moment at a time sometimes.
Yeah, I remember actually meeting you for coffee, and you said that to me at the time while you were in it, that you were you could make it for coffee, and that was enough for you for that day.
Yeah. And I chose who I spent my time with too, who I spent my energy with, because it was really important to me. And someone like yourself, Leslie, who's got such a lot to give and give so freely, you didn't demand anything of me. And so I chose who I spent my time with. So those were little baby steps of even just going out. I know a lot of people know what it feels like when life gets really hard. I also did research, it's like, what's going on with me? Why do I feel so lonely, for instance? And I realized it's, and I still talk about this with people, that the depression in itself creates the isolation. It's the depression, it's the condition that creates the isolation. Yeah. So things like that.
I think that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true, is that, and it builds upon itself. It builds upon itself, and then you make the decision that nobody else wants to see you anyway, and it doesn't feel safe to be around people anyway.
Oh, incredible lack of self-worth. Here I was. The thing is, here I was, the successful businesswoman. I had a business. I had a really good life. I had lots of support, and I felt ashamed of being unwell. Yeah.
And shame is actually the lowest energy. Shame is the lowest energy. And if you can get out of shame, then everything can change. And you only, like you said, you're talking about baby steps. You can only do it one little baby step at a time. And it's really about reaching for the next best thought. So it's about, maybe if you've decided that, you can't be around people, then you did the right thing. You made a decision. I can be around one person who's low touch, and I can enjoy that one person. And then I can go home and ruminate on how nice it felt to be in that energy, and then gather up my strength and maybe be with 2 people who have that sort of energy. So you just choose, and it's different for every single person. It's never the same, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And it's got me back. I'm just going to say those baby steps have got me to where I am now, which is in a pretty amazing place, with still ups and downs. And I spend a lot of time taking baby steps that will keep me well. And some of them are actually quite big baby steps. You know, the way I've structured my life and the things that I do, I really make sure that I'm looking after myself. Yeah.
So where do you think the point was when you felt you had enough resilience to take slightly bigger steps?
Ooh. It's a path. It's a path. It's a path. It's a process. I can't say there was a time. It's a continual process, and I think as we're thinking about that, you know, dealing with the challenge, any challenge that we have. One, I have this optimism and ambition that I want to do something valuable and help other people, and you know, create something that's worthwhile. So it's a challenge every day. It's a challenge every day. I'm thinking about the language I'm using. Yeah. It takes courage. I'll have to say that one of the big baby steps, and this is probably the door opener for me, was to front up and tell people that I was suffering from depression. Up front, face to face, people that I considered me to look and be absolutely normal. You know, like, oh, she looks fine. Look at me. You know, she's got a smile on her face. She's putting out this energy, and that was such a difficult thing to do. I felt I would break down in tears when I told people, because one, I didn't know how they would react, and 2, I just felt ashamed that I wasn't this capable, confident woman that I'd always been. Yeah.
That's a really interesting point, because you use the word normal, and yet, you know, mental health, as they call it, it leaves everybody feeling like they're not normal, but more and more and more people are becoming abnormal. So what is normal?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'd like to be better than normal. My best friend Sue, who died, she wrote a song called Better Than Normal.
Okay, just the way I am, maybe.
Yeah. Perfect just as I am. Yeah.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah. So I think it is the baby steps. It's having a little bit of a belief or bit of courage in that, or having some courage, and having a there I go, jumbling my words. Knowing that some of what I have is helpful to other people, and this is what I do it for, because I know when I talk about it, and when I started talking about my depression while I was still in it, it was helpful to people who were also suffering. So yeah.
So there's that little nugget inside the pain. There's that little nugget that can be used for the good of society, actually, eh?
And you think about that curiosity. I kept thinking about how this can help other people. You know, I had face-to-face circumstances with people in meetings, and people said to me, I've never told anyone this, but, you know, you've made it easy for me to share this. And and now I do it online. I do it with my She Loves Life Over 50 community.
Yeah.
Because I want to help them feel like we're normal, we're perfect as we are, even though we're not feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are normal. I think for me, like, the biggest thing was when I just forgave myself for everything.
Yeah.
I fall over my tongue all the time, and I just get out and I laugh at myself and I go, whatever. Moving on. And and I, like, you know, as you know, I run a lot of workshops online, and I'm forever saying stuff, or maybe I wasn't as prepared, or maybe, you know, something out of the blue happened. And I think the thing is to just realize that every single one of us goes through things like that. Like, I myself have, like you, I've literally, there was a day when I sat on the floor, stared at the walls for 2 days, and my husband said, what's going on. And I said, I've got nothing left to offer this world. I've got nothing. I am nothing, and there is nothing. And I remember it like it was yesterday. But there was always this little bit in the back of my mind that goes, but wait, there's more.
Yes.
And that's that little nugget.
That little thing. Yeah, that little nugget, that little beam of light in your head that there is. And and I've looked at the dark side. I've looked at that like fade a couple of times, and I understand how it is for people where it just like, what's the point? But there's, the little light in our head keeps us going. Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. And then that's where curiosity kicks in, right? So curiosity is about what is that? Why don't I hang around to see what that might be? Maybe a year from now, I won't be like this if I just hang on to the next best thing, the next best thought.
Yeah.
And a really big turning point for me was I went to a seminar. It was a guy, and it was $25. I didn't even have $25, but it came up on Facebook, and I went along. This is long before everybody was doing stuff on Facebook. And he spoke about how all of our thoughts and our beliefs and the way that we talk to ourselves is created by us. It's not created. We might be echoing somebody else's voice from the past, but actually we're the ones who are keeping it in perpetual motion. And he spent about 2 hours showing us how it was us. And then his words, and I'll never forget, he said, I was sitting there just crying throughout the whole thing, taking notes, and the tears just going, oh my gosh, I've been blaming this person and that person for my pain all these years. What's he talking about? So I hung out. And then he sort of finished with, so you see, now that you know better, it's your responsibility how you choose to see yourself, how you are in the world, and the decisions that you make and the thoughts that you have, all your responsibility. Now, that set me on the path of where I am now. That one little $25 conversation set me off on this huge path of, this is my purpose. That's why I'm here. I had for all my life had been listening to people and really understanding that there was more than what they thought there was. I knew there was more than what I thought there was. I just didn't know what that was. That just sparked me. I was massively curious and ended up learning far more than I needed to.
But just that insight, that insight of your consciousness. And at the time that I went into this depression, I took up mindfulness meditation, so it's a similar journey to you, and just that understanding of this consciousness, that this thought in my head is just a thought. And I have to say, there was one baby step I took when I was in this depression, and I'm talking about it a bit because it does seem helpful at this time when we're all suffering from this new normal state. I would have these terrible thoughts in my head, and I can't even remember what they were now, but they were just terrible. You know what I would say to them out loud? I would go, fuck off. Visually, I would say out loud and act like this, physically, and tell it to go away. Let's fuck off out of my head. And that worked. That helped.
That is, because what these things are that go on your head is actually a brain process, and it's like our subconscious is like a tape, like things have been recorded on it, like the old-fashioned tapes, and it just plays round and round and round and round. And the work that we do now is to actually reprogram the tape. The tape is not something we have full control over, and we only think with 5% of our whole mind. And that's our conscious mind. We try and solve all the problems of the world with 5% of our capacity. It's in the subconscious that the magic happens, and you can change everything. And that's all through that curiosity. But hey, what's she talking about? Oh, I want to know more. What else could I do? Who else could I be? And it's through those little baby steps of learning one little new thing at a time, and just allowing yourself the grace to spend time to let go, not just to say, well, she says let go, so let go. Oh, well, screw you, Leslie.
Because Yeah, it takes patience. When you say take time, do you mean take patience? You
It
need the
takes patience, and it takes more of a slowing. Like, when you go on a diet, you want to be like 10 pounds lighter next week. And
yes,
so
yeah,
you give it up, you give it up, you give it up because you're not going to be 10 pounds lighter next week.
that's right.
Well, and I don't even know why I said pounds. I think I'm hanging out with too many Americans. It's the same thing as that, it's the curiosity is a delicious little journey that you go on. You don't scare yourself, you just take baby steps, and you just like think about that new thought that you've just had, that maybe, well, what would it be like? What would it be like if I thought that way? Oh, but I can't think that way because that person's acting that way. They're pushing my buttons. Well, why do I have buttons? What are those buttons? Where did they
Yeah,
come from? And in taking responsibility for your own responses. I was working with a guy the other night. I was actually in a training environment, training coaches, and this guy had programmed himself to be such an introvert that he was frightened of the response of other people if he spoke out loud. And so I told him a story about how sometimes you can say things without attachment to outcome. Like, we all have so much attachment to outcome.
mm,
And I asked him about his attachment to outcome, and he said the penny dropped. He went, in every other aspect of his life, he just did things and he had no attachment to outcome, but speaking out required
yep,
that people listened. And he was like, his whole face changed, like everything changed in his face. It was like amazing, this realization that he could just take that little step and speak out because it was what was in his mind. Didn't
yeah,
mean you didn't have to accept it.
yeah,
I could just say it anyway,
yeah,
maybe. Yeah. So you could like manifest things without attachment. So you could, when you say manifestation or manifesting things, I'm not talking about, there's a genie. What I'm saying is, what if we didn't focus so much on the improbability of things happen and we focus more on the possibility, what might happen?
mm,
I,
mm.
I used to have,
Yeah,
oh, well, I'll
the,
tell you a story. I used to have a picture, you know this story. I used to have a picture of a car on my wall, pink VW Beetle, pink as
yeah,
pink can be, Barbie pink, so pink. And I lived in West Australia at the time. And I used to like go to sleep dreaming of myself driving down the West Coast Highway in this pink car, drop top, waving to people. And I had it on my wall. I laminated it, and I told everyone when they came round, that's going to be my car one day. I had no attachment to outcome. They don't make them in that colour. How was I going to get a car like that? So eventually we came back from New Zealand, from Australia to New Zealand, and we were broke. I had
yeah,
manifested myself a whole lot of crap.
yeah.
Anyway, my husband suddenly looks up and he goes, "Your car's arrived." And I went, "What? Your car's arrived? What are you talking about?" Sometimes I might just go to "You're an idiot" before I go to "You're a genius." I looked, and there on the computer was this pink VW Beetle, and it was in Christchurch, and this guy had painted it. He worked on cars. He painted it for his wife, and then she got pregnant and they were having a baby. You can't put a baby seat in the back of this.
Right, yes.
So I said, "But we haven't got any money." He said, "Leave it with me." And he just moved heaven and earth to get the loan, to get the car. It's paid off now, by the way. And I flew down to Christchurch and picked it up and did a one-woman Thelma and Louise back. And to this day, I still drive that pink. If you ever see a pink VW Beetle,
I've seen it. I've seen you. You
and
stand out. You can't be.
that's the power of what if? What if it could happen?
Yeah.
Letting go of attachment to outcome. It's just a little, well, it's quite a big example. What if I could have all the things? What if I could have that wonderful job? Maybe I'll have to go through some darkness first. But what if I focused on the good things and followed my ideas? What if I took some action towards my ideas rather than keeping falling down the hill?
I think the other thing too is, and I use quite a powerful visioning exercise with people, which involves actually detail, writing down what you manifest, what your ideal vision, your ideal day to look like in the future. And I think, like all visioning, whether it's what you tend to do is make decisions that take you to that place without in your subconscious.
It
So
happens.
subconscious is working towards it. And you do have to take active decisions and take actions. But there are things that you will see, perceive, not even know that you're doing that will take you towards whatever you have pictured or yeah. And that's why we end up in bad spots too, isn't it?
Well, we do know it works both ways. We think ourselves into a hole, but what if we just thought ourselves out of a hole? Sure, I can look. I'm no idiot. I can see what's going on in the world, but I can't presuppose how it's going to end. So why don't you've got two choices, right? Path A, where it's all going to be doom and gloom and horrible and like everything's going to be horrible, or path B, where it's all going to be good no matter what, and we're going to take action towards that. We might not know what that action is, but it could be saying yes for a year to things.
Yeah.
Saying yes is the most powerful thing. That's the reason that I'm here, because I just keep saying yes.
Yes.
Last night I was pushed into a corner by some people overseas that I've spoken a lot about doing online courses, creating online courses, and I've actually thought about it and dreamed about it for a long time, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by these mentors who do that and are pushing me into it and have provided me free courses on how to do courses and mentoring on how to put these courses together. And now I'm sitting here literally as we speak going, oh God, I've created that now. I can get my message out in a bigger platform.
Yeah.
Whoa. And I can make it affordable for people. Yes.
So when we talk about following our ideas, do we actually need to know a lot about why we're doing it, Leslie? What's your thoughts on that?
Remember I spoke before about removing attachment to outcome?
Yeah.
I totally, absolutely believe in just doing things because it feels good. It feels right. It might be hard work right now, but it feels like I'm on the right path.
Right.
I spend hours and hours and hours putting all sorts of different things together because I keep saying yes to people. So I'm working really hard. And I said to my sister, I'm working really hard. And she thinks like me. She goes, working? I said, no, I'm focused on where I'm going. I'm putting in the groundwork now. I'm taking action now. And she was like, yeah, that's better, because I thought you were telling me you were going upstream.
Yes. Yeah.
Go downstream. The river does not flow up. The river flows down. If you're working hard, but it feels like you're working towards something that you really are passionate about, you're going downstream. So you can't just sit there and think.
How do you use this sort of unstoppable curiosity to find the thing that you're passionate about? Or do you have to be passionate about it? Even the word, I question the word sometimes.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people are very cognitive and they're very in their thoughts, and some people are very in their emotions. The ones that are in their emotions are passionate about everything and cry at the drop of a hat. The ones who are in their heads, the more cognitive side, they're going to look for facts and figures, and they want proof that it's going to work. But what if you came from a place of your values? Like, my highest value is love. That's what drives me, love.
Yep.
I can't go around hugging the world because we're in the COVID crisis.
So you're personally here, aren't you? You're saying your highest value is love.
Always has been.
Yeah.
And that's what causes people like me pain when back in the day when I wasn't feeling empowered, because it was easy for people to hurt me. But now it's not, because I'm not attached to their outcome. If your intention is to hurt me, have fun.
Yeah. So when you're linking, so to bring it back to linking sort of purpose and love, you're saying that people who are much more driven by the emotional side can follow the feeling.
Yes.
But you also said they could be passionate about a lot of things. So
they can be passionate about a lot of, like, when you're emotionally driven, you may be passionate about outcomes for other people, for example, or you may be driven because I'm excited about this, but then something new comes along and I'm excited about that too. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to listen to what the world is saying, not the dark stuff, but the need that the world has got. Because you've been in business. If you don't know who you're serving, then you'll serve everyone really badly.
Yeah. Yes.
You know this because I questioned you on this the other night, and it came down to the very same thing. You always say the same thing: women over 50 who are stuck.
Yep. Yep.
That keeps calling to you, right? As being where you do your best work.
Yes. And I don't know. The word passionate or the word it has meaning, it has value, it is I want other women over 50 to have choices, to have the freedom to do what they desire, to do work and to have meaningful work, to have a level of financial comfort. And I have to say I was a feminist from the age of 3, because my mother was a feminist from the age of 3. She was like, yeah. So that is part of it as well. Yeah. So
It drives you.
It's a drive. Yeah, it's an absolute drive. So how do we? I guess if we bring back the theme of curiosity, it revolves around. And I keep thinking, why do I do this? I understand why I've committed to that group, I guess. But then I sometimes wonder, why do I do the stuff that I do? Why do I put myself out there? Yeah.
So why?
Why? Because I feel I can make a difference.
Because you feel the feeling in your body when you do something good for someone, right?
Yes. And as a result, I get a massive,
Yeah. If it makes you feel that good, then it's less. That's where overwhelm and burnout come out, right? Is you get stuck when you're like in your head thinking, what are other people going to think about what I do? But and we've all been there, because you and I come from a very corporate background, and when we started, it's like, that's not what we're known for. We're known for this, and now we're speaking a different language, and and we want to know that people are going to think well of us, and that's what stops a lot of people. What will people think of me? Because we're hardwired, aren't we? We're back in the caveman days. If you didn't fit in with the clan that you were with, you were tossed out on your ear and you didn't eat. And that's kind of hardwired into us. It's that feeling of safety.
Yeah, to be in a group, to be accepted within a group. Yeah. And I think we forget to acknowledge that at times, or just to be aware, being aware that that's the case. We're hardwired with these survival instincts, and that's one of them. Yeah.
It absolutely is, because that's why everybody's so stuck on the news and on the social media. Is they're like, it's almost like a flight of shit. They're straight into the bad news. Oh, let's watch. I've done it myself. Let's watch some Donald Trump and get really angry.
Oh, I know. I call it. My husband watches quite a bit, and I call it Trump porn.
Trump rage.
Rubbish. But and these uncertain and crazy. I just call them these crazy times. We're drawn into this negative stuff, and we've talked though about how to stay in the light, how to stay with joy, how to stay with anticipation of the positive. So how can we use our curiosity to get us to maintain those spaces? I mean,
Well, here's a wee reminder. The only time that we can ever live in is right here, right now. So if you just take a big deep breath.
Yep.
And sitting right here, right now, is there food in your fridge?
Plenty.
Is there people around you that love you?
Yep. I'm lucky there. I'm fortunate.
Do you have a roof over your head?
Yep. Lovely place.
Do you have clothes on your body?
I have a great life. I don't need any more.
So right here, right now, are your family well?
Yes.
Now, if they're not well, are you coping? Do you have resources from times that you've been in that have been hard before, and the lessons that you've learned? Can you apply those resources right here, right
now? I will be able to, yes.
And reminding you once again, do you have people that love you?
Yes.
Okay. So when you think about, you can't, if you think about the past now, and a lot of stuff, we touched on that at the beginning, a lot of stuff went on in the past, right? And that's shaped who we are today a lot more than you know, maybe, or you might know, but some people might not know. So the things from the past and the beliefs that we created and the way that we learned how to be in our view of the world and the paradigm in which we live is sitting here with us right here, right now. But the past is actually gone. You can't relive it. What he said, she did, he did, they did, whatever, they don't. It's not happening right here, right now. But we tend to hang on to it and bring it to the now. Bring it to the now. But that's where anxiety is coming from. It's not a disease. It's a thought process. We bring it to the now because sometimes we go, well, that happened then. What if it happens again? And now we're projecting it into the future. Can we live in the future?
No. No.
Why not?
Well, why not? I don't know. We've got no idea.
Hasn't
We have no control over what might happen in any time, as much as we like to think we do. And if we're trying to make a decision about something in the future, we're trying to sometimes go, well, if I did this, that might happen, and this might happen, that might happen, and I'm trying to line it all up so that I make sure those things don't happen. But we know that it's impossible.
It doesn't happen. So we can't live in the past. We can't live in the future. We must have to live in now.
Yes.
But we can dream. So our mind, our ability to dream and to imagine is so, so powerful. In fact, a lot of the things that happen in the past are sitting in our imagination because we've embellished them and changed them and, made it bigger or given some bits more importance and we've forgotten the good bits and all of that sort of thing. But right here, right now, I can start to dream about a future that I want. Now I have two choices now. I can choose path A, where it's going to be terrible, the world's going to fall down, the whole of America is going to die from some terrible disease and they're going to pass it around the world and humanity will be wiped out. Nobody's going to have jobs because they'll be dead anyway. And it's all going to be terrible. I'm going to lose everything. Okay?
Yep.
Everything. I've been there, so I know that I'm still standing here. Or we can project. We have a choice. We project path B. Now, you might say this is unrealistic, but the people who are going to get us out of it are projecting to path B. How can I contribute towards a better world? What can I do that's going to make a difference? Can I do that'll make a difference in my world?
Yeah.
And that's really important. My world is the most important thing because if I make a difference to my circle of influence, they'll make a difference to their circle of influence, and they'll make a difference where I'm going. So path B for me is the path I choose to take. And most of us are going down path A every time, over and over and over again, sitting in fear, suffering from anxiety, taking a myriad of pills for anxiety because it's a chemical process. I can tell you the chemical process. And we don't need to be going down path A. The people who are going to help us get out of that are path B. So who do you choose to be? Do you choose to just enjoy being here now, love your people? I haven't seen my grandchildren for over a month.
I know, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I chose to extend my circle to my dad because he's like dying of cancer. So I made a choice about who I was going to spend that time. But I know that those little cherubs, there's big hugs waiting for me, and all I do is dream about my big hugs that I'm getting, and there's another one on the way, so more hugs.
Yeah.
And my dad's dreaming of making the doctors wrong and they told him he had 6 months to live, and he said, "You're going to have to change your notes, doctor." He said, "What?" He said, "It's 5 years, you've got it wrong." Path B in my family.
Yeah. So there's this optimism, we can go from one moment, can't we? We have this thought and we're this optimism and this joy about what the future is, and things like having our children or grandchildren or family or being loved in one moment, and then we can slip into oh my God, the world's ending.
Well, we're human and we're hardwired for safety.
Yes.
So we have to consciously go down path B quite a lot of the time. I go down. I found myself getting involved in Trump porn myself, and it just wasn't actually productive for me, and it wasn't
No.
it wasn't feeding my soul. So a good way to know if you're on the right path is, how do you feel?
I know you're a tapping, an EFT practitioner.
Yeah.
And so you're very tuned into how do you feel,
Yeah.
and then using those body signals, or
Yeah. Well, the thing about the body is it's a good antenna for what's going on in the mind. Or you'll feel it in the body first. You feel anxiety and stress and pressure in the body first. And then your mind goes to work trying to figure out what that feeling is. It's all subconscious. And so you'll say to your doctor, I'm depressed, give me some pills. Whereas in actual fact, if you really tune into your body, you might notice that there is a deadness maybe somewhere, or really struggling in your stomach, like a tension in your stomach, or maybe in your throat or your chest or in your heart. You feel it. Some people feel it in their arms or their head. There's this tension, there's this unease. If you connect, like, let's do a little exercise now, right? Think of just something small, because I don't want to take you all the way down the rabbit hole. But maybe we'll think about tension, about what's going to happen. So if you think about what's going to happen, where would you typically feel that in your body?
what's going to happen in my gut, maybe.
In your gut. And what does it feel like?
Just sort of those nervous, maybe those little like things, a sensation of
Nerves.
yeah.
And a good way of knowing how much that's bothering you is this intensity scale of 0 to 10. We call it subjective units of distress, SUDS. So from 0 to 10, how intense is that feeling?
Of the unknown. Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, right now, probably about a 5.
Okay, still a 5. Yeah, so it's a 5, tension in your stomach.
Yep.
And then notice the thoughts that come up when you really focus on that, and notice the thoughts that are coming up for you.
So I'm sort of thinking about the crazy time we're living in. The thoughts are about, is it ever going to be the same? Am I ever going to be able to get off this property?
Yeah, and everybody's different, right? For some people, it's am I going to be able to feed my family?
Am I going to hug my grandchild?
So shall we try around? Do you want to try around? Yeah, we'll try around.
Sorry.
So the whole thing about, do you want to try around a track tapping?
Oh, let's do that. Look at our time. We've got about 10 minutes or so. Yeah, so over to you.
So let's just do a very quick one. So the whole thing about tapping is, what it does is it stimulates the nervous system. And while you're focused, it brings in mindfulness, and it brings in some NLP, and it brings in some cognitive behavioral therapy, and sometimes it brings in some hypnotherapy. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the body. So it stimulates the nervous system, because that feeling in your stomach is actually the nervous system at work. That's why people get ulcers, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
If you tap on the side of the hand, this is starting to wake it up, right? And so we say what is bothering you. So, and what we do is we say, even though, I'll show you. So just repeat after me. Even though I have all this worry in my stomach. What's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
Am I going to love myself? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to be stuck here forever?
Am I going to be stuck in this house forever?
I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. We often don't love ourselves because we have these feelings, and that's why it's so important to say that.
Right.
Even though
I
feel stuck in this house. Going to be stuck here forever. I choose to deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. And love this house for being here. Even if I do feel stuck.
Even if I do feel stuck.
One more time. Even though I'm stuck in this house.
Feels like forever. Feels like forever.
All this churning in my stomach.
All this tuning in my stomach.
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely
Surrender myself.
Surrender myself.
To this very moment.
To this very moment.
And love myself anyway.
And love myself anyway.
How does that feel, just doing that bit?
Oh, it just feels like I breathed out.
Yeah. So let's just go through a round.
Okay.
Stuck in this house.
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 Thank God I've got this house.
Thank God I've got this house.
Stuck in this house.
Stuck in this house.
Thank God I've got this house.
Thank God I've got this house.
Stuck in this house.
Stuck in this house.
This house that's putting a roof over my head.
This house that's putting a roof over my head.
This food that's in my fridge.
This food that's in my fridge.
These people that I love.
These people that I love.
All stuck in this house.
All stuck in this house.
I wonder if I need to be angry about this.
I wonder if I need to be angry about this.
I wonder if I need to be anxious about this.
I wonder if I need to be anxious about this.
I wonder if I can just choose to be happy anyway.
I wonder if I can just choose to be happy anyway.
Choose to let go of this feeling.
Choose to let go of this feeling.
Stuck in this house.
Stuck in this house.
Thank goodness for this house.
Thank goodness for this house.
Thank goodness for the food.
Thank goodness for the food.
Thank goodness for the love.
Thank goodness for the love.
I love myself anyway.
I love myself anyway.
And I choose to release these feelings from my stomach.
And I choose to release these feelings from my stomach.
I get to live in this house.
I get to live in this house.
So grateful I've got this house.
So grateful I've got this house.
So wonderful. Grateful I've got this house.
So grateful I've got this wonderful house.
Big breath. How's that feeling in your stomach?
Oh, what stomach?
I love that.
Yeah.
That was a really small example, but you can, learn it and do it for yourself. And it's just such a wonderful, life-giving process, I think.
And when I think about, curiosity, and I'm curious about why the system works, but I'm not wanting to go, and that doesn't mean I want to go into all the detail, but yeah, that's what's going on in my mind at any time, this sort of constant curiosity about how all this works and how it all fits together, and how can I bring the most to my life or to other people's lives from this. Yeah.
Well,
I have so many thoughts in my head. So many thoughts.
So that curiosity is a wonderful thing, and I've got the same. Sorry, I talked over this. That might have been the internet.
Yeah.
The curiosity is wonderful, but what if we could channel that curiosity into what's just the next thing I want to do?
Yep.
What do I want to do? If nobody was there to tell me that I can't do it.
I know that. Yeah. What do I want to do? And at times too, at times like this, we're living in this wonderful place in Australasia, where life is good. We're at the end of the world in this quaint little country, and we've coming through this crazy time in good shape. And that means we can also feel guilty about life being good. That's one example. It's like the rest of the world is falling apart, parts of the world. Well, it's just another thing that makes me curious.
So the curiosity for me is where does the guilt come from? Is it okay to be okay?
Yeah.
Can you fix what's going on? I mean, is it in your sphere of power to help? You can't. And I think that's where our empathy gets a little bit haywire. I think every single person in the world, at whatever their stage, are coping with the best that they can in their way. That matters to them, the way that they cope with things. And then I go and put my values onto how you're coping, and I worry for you. But actually, you might be doing a really good job, And
Yeah.
you might need some emotional help, but you're just as capable of getting your emotional help as I am. So I'm going to trust you to have your process, whatever that is.
It's very true. It's very true. Yeah. And I think that's perhaps where the word compassion comes in as opposed to empathy. And compassion is that trust, the ability to trust that everybody's doing what they can, the willingness to help, but not being caught into it. Yeah.
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 That's it. It's the problem with people who are empathic, and I'm empathic as well. You have to remember who your sphere of influence is. It's the ever increasing circles. Work within your sphere of influence and
Yeah.
empower other people to work within their sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And just because you feel like somebody is struggling or feeling disempowered does not mean it's your job to fix it. It's your job to love them.
Yep.
And to trust them to sort it out themselves in the way that makes the most sense to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a big impact on us at this time, that we are seeing the suffering, so much suffering, and we're not used to it. And in Western, this time of, we're not used to it. We live in such a fortunate position.
We are.
I
I'm grateful.
a fortunate life, and yeah. So what can we finish on, Leslie? What would be the takeaway from today in terms of using
I think
our
it's
curiosity?
well, for me, it starts with love yourself first. It's like on the aeroplane they say put your own oxygen mask on first before you look after anyone else.
Yeah.
A lot of us will feel so broken by our own experiences we never want anyone else to experience that. Allow other people to have their experience and be curious about how you can love and support them while allowing them to have their own experience and just letting go. Be curious about who you are in the world and what you want that to mean. And be curious about how you can just look after your ripples.
Yes. Yeah. And be curious, for me, be curious about what's that one thing you can do today that will make that possible. What's one thing?
Yeah.
I think it's easy to be overwhelmed. So just again, to come back to those baby steps, what's the one thing I'm going to do today that will move me towards where I can, want to be? Yeah. Yeah. And that might,
one
thing, working
not,
on
not
myself.
5. Not 10.
Not 5, no.
Yeah. Always do, sort your own stuff out first.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What shall I do today for myself? And then the next, and that the ripples happen. Yeah.
That's the key takeaway. Look after you first, you.
Isn't it amazing? I'm thinking, here I am at a certain stage in my life. I'm 61 or something, and a plan to live till I'm 90, and how much I can learn between now and then. Yeah. Yeah. And every day, if it's every day and it's one little thing, what's the magnitude of that? Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we can feel like, oh, it's all behind us or something. But no, that's I've just given myself something, a real boost for today by just thinking that thought. Sometimes for me, it's about, and I want to find a different way to think about things. That's what happens with my curiosity. I want to find a new way to think. And so that's my new way to think for today. One little thing every day for the next 29 years or whatever, let's say 30 years. What an impact is that going to make on the world and on me? Yeah.
Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. And for you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm already doing it every day. There's something new.
Yeah.
It's
so
exciting. And the whole world opens up, and you don't even know it's coming. There's some opportunities have come to me lately that I'm kind of mind blown by. And we're not always talking about, by the way, opportunities to make money. Well, they may do down the track. We're talking about opportunities to experience life.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We'll keep doing it. even when the things get a bit rough. Just keep doing it. As I say, when I started at the beginning, I was in this deep, dark hole of depression, but I still had this sort of curiosity about, what's next? What else is there? Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, hold on. Yeah.
Now, I thought once we finish, it'd be good for us to share. Where can people find you, Lesley, if they want to?
Well, I have a website, so I work with both businesses and individuals. And if you go to www.nudgepeople.co.nz, there is an area there specifically for people who want personal coaching. And I also work with businesses because I have this massive BHAG, and it's to heal the world of work.
Heal the world of work.
Yeah.
To make it safe and fun. Yeah.
Yeah, which increases productivity. So there's a bottom line for the business owners, right? But I don't tell my clients that that's my BHAG until they get to know me well, by which time it makes sense.
Yeah. So nudgepeople.co.nz, and you're on Facebook under Nudge People, is it?
Under Nudge People. Nudge Life would be a good one, actually.
Nudge Life, facebook.com.
Yeah.
/Nudge Life. And as Lesley pointed out, I work with women over 50, so I have a website called She Loves Life Over 50, and a Facebook page under that name. And I love wanting to help women over 50 have more choice and to do work that is meaningful and to achieve some financial comfort. If you want to know a little bit more about my story, if you come to sheloveslifeover50.com /free chapters, you can get the first 5 chapters of my ebook for free. And I'm sure you'll find material on Lesley's site that's useful as well.
Oh, yeah, I have a book on my site, Working From Home. It's to help people cope with working from home. It's got some really good mindset tips in it too.
Yeah.
I'll be changing my books out on a regular basis, free books, so keep an eye on the website.
Just come to our websites and see what you can find, and we'd love to connect. And I hope our conversation today has been useful about how we're using unstoppable curiosity to help move ourselves forward and improve our mark on the world. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thanks, Leigh.
Thank you, Lesley. We'll say bye for now. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Bye.